a somber and humble Diana Lovejoy is led into court in shackles.
Top 8 criminal reactions to death sentences. This is Diana Lovejoy. She's in for attempting to murder her ex-husband. Diana and her husband Greg Mulville were married in 2007. After some years passed, the two were having troubles with their marriage, and finally, they filed for a divorce. A messy divorce and prolonged legal troubles resulted in the court ordering Diana to pay $120,000 to Greg for their stake in the shared property. The court also ordered her to share the custody of her son with a monthly $100 for her child support. Diana was raised by this decision. As she couldn't give this much amount, she decided to kill her husband with the help of her boyfriend, Weldon McDavid Jr. Greg was shot in the torso, but fortunately, he survived the gunshot from McDavid. Both Diana and McDavid were charged with conspiring to kill Greg. The court overturned their decision and gave complete custody of the child to Greg Mulville. Interestingly, Diana fainted in court and lowered her head when the judge gave the verdict. See here. As you hear the word guilty, you hear the voice of Diana's head busting into the table. Her family is crying in the background. Immediately, she's brought onto the floor, and when she's taken into the stretcher outside, she's still passed out. It was later found out that she just fell unconscious. McDavid was imprisoned for 56 years because he pulled the trigger, and Diana was sentenced to life for 26 years.
You get to see two very different faces of this car thief. On the left, Ryan Stone bragging about his crimes to a female visitor in jail.
This is Ryan Stone, a man from Colorado who is arrested for kidnapping and carjacking. This dude was broadcasted live by a news channel's helicopter. The chase began when Stone stole an SUV carrying a 4-year-old boy buckled into a car seat from a gas station. He further carjacked 2 other vehicles, making his tally to 3. Speed thrills, but kills. Stone led police on a chase at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. You can see in this clip that Stone hit the policeman, Trooper Bellman He, who was deploying a device to deflate the tires of the car. The trooper's legs were completely shattered. Look at this. Stone is pulling out another person from his vehicle. He puts his foot on the accelerator and boom, he collides with other vehicles. Now the chase is on foot. He slips on the ice and loses his upper. The fence comes in his way, and he decides to surpass the obstacle. But guess what? His lats are weak enough to help him climb the fence. No other option for him, he surrenders. You'll be blown away by the fact that Stone has no regrets about doing all this drama. In fact, he believes that he should be paid for all the internet fame. See this.
Hey, did you know I made the news in the UK and Australia? Yeah, my lawyer told me I made the news in the UK and Australia. If you type in Grand Theft Auto on YouTube, my shit comes up first.
But when the court asked him why did he brag about his so-called fame, he uttered these words.
Extremely stressful, especially knowing what's at stake. It's extremely stressful.
The Douglas County jury convicted Stone of 18 charges, including attempted manslaughter, first-degree assault, and child abuse. But what came next was the judge sentenced him to 160 years in prison. Look at his remorseful reaction.
You get to see two very different faces of this car thief. On the left, Ryan Stone bragging about his crimes to a female visitor in jail.
And on the right, Stone crying in court as he learned he will spend the rest of his life locked up. It's for a chase and crime spree that went all the way from Longmont.
This is Jaleel Smith Riley. A Hamilton County judge sentenced him to life in prison. Officials say that he was one of the 3 men involved in an armed robbery, killing a woman and her boyfriend. The unlucky woman was Portia Brooks, who was in the car with her lover, Aaron Martin. When Jaleel came to rob them, he was disappointed to know that Martin did not carry any cash. He pulled him out of his passenger seat and then brutally shot him in the head. Martin survived, but suffered permanent damage to his brain. He then fired 2 shots at Brooks, who left this world after 3 days. Portia's mother was heartbroken. She brought Portia's ashes to court. This is what she had to say.
He took that from me. He took it from all of us. He ruined my life. He not only killed her, but he killed me mentally, emotionally.
Jaleel's attorneys also asked for some compensation. He asked the judge to look at his remorseful behavior. The court projected a scene of a sad funeral. Portia's sister was also in tears and asked the judge to put Jaleel behind bars without parole. These are the moments before Jaleel Riley Smith hears the news of his lifelong punishment for his heinous crime.
Defendant serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4 for the offense of attempted murder.
He will never return. This is Esteban Carpio, who was taken in for the alleged murder of an 85-year-old woman in Rhode Island. The police took him into the interview room where the 2 detectives started questioning him. One of the cops went out of the room to get water. Carpio sensed the opportunity and grabbed the gun of the other detective, Sergeant James Allen, and shot him twice, killing him. Carpio then broke the window and jumped off the 3-story building, making a run. His misadventure remained short-lived as police apprehended him after an hour. In his first court hearing, Carpio's face was covered with a plastic mask and his eyes were swollen. This rough shape stunned everyone in the court, and his family members were furious to see his fate. They blamed the authorities for police brutality. In the weeks before the incident, Carpio's mother told that he was taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. His girlfriend further told him that doctors attributed stress and substance abuse to his abnormal behavior. Interestingly, the prosecution depicted that Carpio was cunning and exaggerated his mental health. However, an investigation revealed that Carpio was not subject to police violence. His injuries were sustained due to his jump from the building. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. His family demanded his fundamental rights, but nothing happened. This is TJ Lane. He was sentenced to 3 life terms in prison. He opened fire at Charlton High School, killing 3 students and injuring 3. While doing this barbaric act, TJ was wearing a shirt inscribed with the word killer. Even during his hearing, he was wearing a white shirt with the same word written on it. Well, it clearly showed lack of remorse, or maybe he's proud of what he's done. One of the mothers of the deceased made a heart-wrenching speech asking TJ why would he kill such kind and innocent children. To which TJ responded with a sarcastic smile. The lady also called TJ evil and said that she would forgive him so that he might not haunt him. See here, TJ is again laughing constantly, with no regrets. When the court gave him the opportunity to speak, he admitted his crime and even spewed vile words at victims' family. He showed middle finger to them and shouted at them with words that cannot be described here. When the judge announced 3 life terms, 1 for each student, he smirked. Reports suggested that he remained a trouble kid and even escaped the prison. But he was apprehended after 24 hours. This is Michael Marin, a former Wall Street trader who was sentenced to 21 years of jail for intentionally burning down his own mansion. Seriously? In 2009 in the Phoenix area, Marin lit his $3.5 million beauty on fire and oddly emerged of it. Investigations revealed that he did it because he couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments. He can be heard saying, calling 911, "My house is on fire." He came out of the house wearing a scuba diving suit which included a mask, oxygen tank, and snorkel. He was found guilty of arson and insurance fraud. The judge sentenced him to 7 years. But wait a minute, what is he doing? He is swallowing something. Probably cyanide inhibited his breathing. He then swallows water from the sports bottle. Soon he collapsed on the court and couldn't be revived. This is Ronnie O'Neill. He is a double murder suspect in Riverview. He was 29 when he shot his girlfriend Kenyatta Barron. And more shocking is that he killed their own daughter multiple times with a hatchet. He also stabbed their 8-year-old before burning the house to the ground. O'Neill was arrested during his escape from the house. Fortunately, the son was saved, but he endured critical injuries. Kenyatta was the first one to call 911. Police could hear her shouting and suddenly hanging up. After some time, O'Neill tried to trick the police by calling them and claiming that he was attacked by some white demons. You can observe that he was trying to prove himself mentally unstable, but the medical team later proved that he was mentally in his senses. O'Neill represented himself at trial, but his defense was marked by conspiracy theories, outbursts, and complete lies. He even cross-examined his 11-year-old son, who reiterated that his father had attacked him. O'Neill admitted his crime and said that he would have preferred the death penalty over life in prison, but was saved by the one true God. While sentencing, the judge said that this is the worst case that she had ever heard. She gave him 3 life terms plus 60 years for the brutal murder of Kenyatta Barron. He responded by saying that he was not sorry for what he did. Extremely shocking. This is Dylan Schumacher. The court sentenced him to 25 years for the homicide of Austin Smith, the 23-month-old son of Dylan's girlfriend. The boy was repeatedly punched until inner bleeding started. You can see that in the court, Dylan starts crying and begins to apologize that he didn't mean to cause damage to the young boy. Many thought that this was a drama to cut short his sentence. You could hear him saying, "I wish I could give my life for Austin." Honorable Judge William Baller replied by saying, "What are the chances that Dylan will not do it again?" His attorney kept defending him, but with limited success as he was put behind the bars. He could now cry for the rest of his life. An apt reminder for everyone that there's no place for brutality in this world.